Hey everyone, John here from All Miniatures Great and Small, and for today's episode of a unit overview we are going to be talking about the M-18 Hellcat from the American Bulge book. Now, if you've seen my other unit overviews or any of my Bulge coverage, you'll know that I love the EZ-8. It's probably my favorite tank. I'm going to be cheeky and say the Hellcat's my favorite tank destroyer by a long shot. It's probably my number 2 favorite tank, right behind the EZ-8. It is really a cool looking tank. It is not based on the M10, so it's a completely different looking vehicle that is added to the American arsenal, which I really like. You know, Shermans are great, but at the end of the day, a Sherman's a Sherman's a Sherman. You've got your M10s, which can evolve into the M36 Jackson, but the Hellcats are kind of their own unique thing. Their lineage really doesn't go with anything else, so it's kind of cool to have them again into Flames of War Late War. In version 3 and version 2, I was a big fan of running the Hellcat, and I took Hellcat companies to a couple of tournaments and did really well with them. So I enjoy them, and I'm looking forward to seeing them hit the tabletop now that American Bulge is out. Alright, so let's talk about the models. So these models you see here are the metal and resin version. I haven't received any of the plastic ones yet. Battlefront's still not doing any kind of review copies for social media or anything, so I'm just waiting to be able to order plastic ones just like everyone else. So when I get those, obviously I'll share them with you guys, and you know, I'll probably end up replacing these with plastic, but we'll see. All right, so there you go. Let's talk about the Hellcat stats. All right, so Hellcats by default they're hit on a 4+, so they're careful, just like most of the American Army in the Bulge book. They have a armor which is some of the worst armor that you will find. Front armor 2, side armor 1, and top armor 0. So they're really not well armored. A 20 millimeter cannon, a 50 cal machine gun can penetrate these guys, and from the front, which is, you know, not that great. Really, honestly, the best armor for vehicles like this is being hit on a 4, being able to maximize that hit on 4 and using your terrain. All right, for motivation, these guys have a confident 4+. They have a self-propelled gun counterattack of 6, so you're not going to want to get them in assault. You're not going to want to get them assaulted. They're not going to stick around. You got to roll a 6 to keep them in the fight. Skill is a very nice 3+. So they, you know, they're going to be able to do those movement orders, blitzes, and scoot and shoots on a 3+, which is really important because these guys also have the Seek, Strike, and Destroy special rule, which kind of works like the German Stormtrooper special rule. If you do a successful blitz, you can try to do a scoot and shoot. So you can move up to a edge or something, a wall, shoot, and then back off with scoot and shoot, and hopefully avoid getting shot at. So the skill of 3+ is going to help with that, and because they are tank destroyers, they have a self-propelled gun assault rating of 4+, so they're not quite as good squishing infantry. And even though it's you know, they call it a self-propelled gun, it still has a turret, but it still has the penalty, the assault gun penalty. All right, so speed-wise, it has a tactical of 12, so it moves like a light tank. So like your Chafees and your Stuarts, they're moving 12 tactical. Terrain dash is a very nice 18. Cross-country dash is 28. Road dash is 32 with a 3+ cross-check. So they're very maneuverable on the board. They are very fast cross-country. They can really reposition. And that's one of the things Hellcats were known for historically, was that they had a good speed. They had good speed to them. All right, next up we have the weapon. So the M18 is armed with a 76 millimeter gun, very similar to what you're going to find on the Sherman EZ-8, 76 the M10, those kind of things. So it's nothing new there. It's range 36, halted, rate of fire of 2, moving rate of fire of 1, anti-tank 12, 3+ firepower with the no HE special rule. Hellcats also come with a single 50 caliber machine gun. It's an AA machine gun. 50 cals are nice. It's range 20, halted, rate of fire 3, moving 2, anti-tank 4, 5+ firepower, and self-defense AA special rule. So these guys, if they're attacked by air, they have a limited ability to protect themselves, unlike German tanks, which are often at the mercy of air power. So overall, I mean, they don't have a ton of machine guns like a Sherman or a Chaffee. They don't have those hull-mounted machine guns, but they do have that 50 cal, which is still really nice if you're trying to dig out infantry or stuff like that. With a higher firepower, you're doing pretty well. Also, light reconnaissance will need to be wary around you because, again, you have that 50 cal with anti-tank 4. So the other thing you can do with these guys is you can upgrade them. You can give them the high velocity anti-tank rounds for 1 point per 2 tanks, per 2 Hellcats. So very similar to how the Sherman 76s are upgraded. So by doing that hyper velocity AP round card, you up their anti-tank to 13. And if you saw my Easy 8 video, you've already heard my spiel on going from AT 12 to 13, and even though it's just 1 point, that's a big point. It's a big bump, particularly against things like Stugs, front armor 7, because they can no longer, at short range, they can no longer bounce an AT-13. The best they can do is equal one. So that AT-13, I think, is, if you've got the points, I would almost always go with that. I would always factor that into building a Hellcat company to spend the extra points on the upgrade for the hypervelocity AP. Now these guys are points-wise, they're really only 4 points per tank, so a platoon is running you 16 points. If you tack on the hypervelocity AP, each platoon's running you 18 points. A company of Hellcats is a minimum of 2 platoons plus an HQ, which is 2 of the M20 scout cars. So a minimum sized formation with 8 Hellcats and then the 2 HQ M20 scout cars would only run you like 38 points. And that gets you 8 tanks with AT-13. No armor to speak of, but hey, that's okay. The light armor, too, just to continue on that train of thought, works really well against late war Germans. The later the war, the more exotic and expensive stuff the Germans are going to be bringing to the table. You're going to see more Panthers, you're going to see King Tigers, you're going to see Jagd Panthers, you're going to see all of these super high AT guns. And if you are bringing front armor 2 weapons, it's overkill for the Germans. They're spending all these points on guns that have a super high AT, which doesnn matter. A Panzer IV has the same chance of destroying a Hellcat as a Sturm Tiger or a King Tiger from the shooting perspective. So if you play that game and the German brings those super high AT guns and the highest armor you have in this company is 2, that's an advantage to you. So it's something to keep in mind. And of course, if you bring Pershings or super Pershings, now the King Tiger has something to shoot at. So overall, though, the Hellcats are great in that they are fast. So they move 12. So they're faster than the other American tank destroyers like M10s and Jacksons, which only move 10. And with that 3-up skill, again, they're going to be able to do that seek, strike, and destroy special rule more often, which is driving up to a hedge or an edge or a wall, shooting, and then backing off with the scoot and shoot blitz combo. You always look for that, but in practice you don't really count on it because it's hard to do. What you can count on, though, is always trying to keep these guys in concealment, and hopefully at long range. Long range and concealment means they're only hit on 6s. So it's going to take concerted enemy fire to destroy them. Close range, it's 5s, but still, as long as you're concealed, that's better than nothing, and that's pretty good, pretty good armor for these guys. Overall, I would recommend trying out the Hellcat formation. I think it's a good formation because you could take up to 3 platoons of Hellcats, so that's 12 Hellcats you could max out on. Plus, you can also fill up 3 platoons of Scout Recon, which is the M-20 and Jeeps. So you can have these Hellcat platoons, and then you can have the smaller Scout platoons that are basically anchoring your formation. Hide 1 or 2 of those cheap Scout platoons. They only run 3 points each, and your formation's not going to break. Or you can use those Scout platoons for spearhead, trying to flank, pin down infantry, go after artillery parks, things like that. So there's a lot of utility in that formation. And then in support, I'd recommend some, battle-weary infantry or something like that to be able to hold objectives and threaten through woods or denser terrain. All right, the other thing you can do is you can just take a platoon of Hellcats and add that to any formation you want. Hellcats are a great choice because they are, by default, a little bit cheaper than the M10s and the Jacksons for sure, because their armor, they have the same gun, but their armor is not as good as an M10. So you could save a few points if you want tank destroyers in your list, but you need to save a few points. Hellcats would be a good alternative to M10s. And in my case, I would take the M10s over the take the Hellcats over the M10s almost every time. And that might just be based on looks, but I do like the extra speed that they offer. So I do, if you can't tell, I really like the Hellcat. I think it's a cool tank. I think it's a great tank for late war. And it really can take on all comers. It's fast, so even against something like a King Tiger, which you can't hurt from the front, you might be able to use combined arms, smoke that Tiger, rush your Hellcats up, and go for flank shots. Hellcats are going to die. It's just something you're going to have to get used to because of that front armor too. But they're going to take a lot with them. So I'm sure you're going to see these guys in some upcoming battle reports. I plan on playing with them a few times on the channel, and I'm sure I'll be playing off as well with the guys, just because they are so much fun. They're a neat thing. They play differently than Shermans. They feel different than Shermans on the board, which is an interesting thing to say because the gun is pretty similar. The AT-12 to AT-13 gun. But they do play different. These guys don't have stabilizer. They do have the Seek, Strike, and Destroy, so they can pull out. They are faster than Shermans. So you've got a lot of play there. So I'm thinking Hellcats and Chaffies might be a good combo. All right, guys, so I think I've ranted long enough about how cool the Hellcat is. I do recommend you check out the American Bulge book. These guys are coming out as a plastic kit, which is pretty exciting. Like I said, once I get my hands on the kit, I'll definitely have a review and show you guys what the plastic looks like versus the older metal and resin. Because I really like the metal and resin, but I am excited to see what the plastic brings. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please do consider giving us a like and subscribe. Click that bell to receive notification when we release new content. If you like our Flames of War content, please also check out our Patreon, where patrons get access to a Flames of War battle report exclusive to them every month. We cover a bunch of different topics, from the latest books to going back to mid-war or the Eastern Front. It just really depends on the month, but we try to have something exciting every month. So there you go, guys. Thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.